on the west side of the state. Wonderful turnout for Wednesday night. Appreciate you all being here and taking time out of your busy days and schedules to pay attention to something that's really, really, really important, and that is November 5th in this upcoming election. So, last time I was in this building, I was actually getting married, ironically, so I want to shout out my wife really quick, Nicole, event planner, helped get all the logistics together. This feels just like the wedding day, same vibe and everything, a lot of patriotism. So, and I'll apologize in advance. I have this little lapel pin. I will be announcing speakers as they come up, the voice of God, and you're going to say, that sounds like that guy who started the show, and that is in fact correct. So, to kick things off, right now, I want to bring up two people to the stage. The second will be local recording artist Cat Wells, who will sing Star Spangled Banner. But first, I want to get Pastor Cody Cool, get the name right, up to start this thing off in the right way with a quick prayer.
It is great to be here with a group of people who want to preserve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You guys are fighting the good fight, and it's so grateful to be in your presence. I'm thankful for all the candidates. They're great candidates, the best. All other candidates, total disaster. Yeah, I'm a pastor here in Grand Rapids, and I'm grateful to be part of something that's good, that's life-preserving, and is instilling biblical values. And as Nehemiah said, when they're rebuilding Jerusalem, he says, God said, it's not by might nor by strength, but by my spirit, says the Lord. You know, we can try to do this in our own strength, but how many guys believe we need God in this? So let's go to him in prayer. Lord, we are grateful for you. Thank you so much for loving us for who we are, not for what we do. Thank you that you came to this earth and you died. You laid your life down. You were rich and became poor so that we who are poor can be rich. Thank you for saving us. Thank you for caring about us. Thank you for establishing an identity that could never change. Thank you for giving us a purpose. Thank you for giving us meaning and a destiny that no human being on earth could ever give us. And Lord, I do pray for the candidates, and I pray for our country, I pray for our state. I lift them up. I pray for the candidates running. I pray that they would genuinely have a heart to serve people, to love you. Lord, I pray that they would find favor in your eyes and the eyes of those voting. And I pray that they would find favor because they actually genuinely care about the welfare and the well-being of the people of Michigan. And Lord, I pray that tonight's meeting would be encouraging, uplifting, and honoring to you. And Lord, we ask for your strength and your wisdom in the days ahead. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Please stand for the singing of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallant
again, we're 20 days away from the election. The point of this evening is to generate some continued excitement, additional momentum to get the ground game working hard in order to win this thing on November 5th. One such way you can do that and get involved if you're not already is through a cool program that a good friend of mine helped develop called 10X. One of their people, Lance Elliott Griffin, is going to come up and share with us for a couple minutes quickly about how 10X works and how you can use it. Lance, why don't you come on up here? Sure.
Good evening. Mr. Trump allegedly lost Michigan by 150,000 votes in 2020. So what we need to do is make up for that and have the election with so many votes that it's too big to rig. We've developed a website and a database that includes 1.7 million Republicans in it. Republicans who have missed 2 of the last 4 elections. Now that's not good for when Republicans don't vote. Most of these people are Christian. So if we get out Christian Republicans to vote, that can only be good things for our country. So what we're asking you to do is to go to our website, 10xvotes.com, and register. It takes 30 seconds to register. Put in my name, Lance, as the person who referred you, so my bosses know I've been working. But after that 30 seconds you register, search our database for people that you know, people in your contacts. Your contact list. It's one thing if I contact you, but if you contact your friends and family and ask them to vote, it means a lot more. And what you'll find is that when you are searching for people in the database, their name may already be red, which means that Brian Posthumous or somebody else has already claimed them. That's a good thing. Claim them anyway, because it's going to be that much more important and likely that they vote if Brian contacts them and asks them to vote, and you also. Multiple individuals will be asking these people to vote, and that's going to turn out a lot of votes for Mr. Trump, Paul Hudson, Mike Rogers, and our entire ticket. We don't need all 1.7 million to vote. We need to activate 5 or 10% of them, and we'll win. And my goal is to recruit 30,000 Michiganders to participate in this program. We're not asking you to break any records and try to find 100 people on the website. We're asking you each to find 10 people in our database of Republicans, mostly Christian, who haven't voted in 2 of the last 4 elections, and ask those 10 people to vote. You may have heard Tucker Carlson talking about this, Dan Bongino, today Charlie Kirk talked about getting out 10 people to vote. This is the way we're going to turn Michigan back. We're going to get some sanity back. This program isn't going away. We're going to use the same Get Out the Vote program in 2 years to unseat the Attorney General and the Secretary of State here in Michigan. So please, each of them, thank you. Lastly, why aren't people voting? Many have just become complacent. We've got these 2 oceans separating us from the rest of the world, and it's been pretty good here, obviously. It's the best place to live on Earth. But we're not immune from a communist takeover. Russia was a Christian nation for 1,000 years before the Bolsheviks took over. So we're not immune to that. Let's not give the communists who are literally actively working to take over our country right now a chance to do it. Join and participate in our incredible Get Out the Vote program, 10X Votes. Thank you very much.
Keep this program moving quickly. We got a lot of great speakers who all promised me, like good politicians, that they would be succinct and to the point. So you heard it from all of them. The promise has been extended. Real quick, this is not an academic lecture. It is, in fact, a rally. So I need everybody to stand up for a second, real quick. The people who are running for office and who are serving in office currently sacrifice a lot. I've seen it up close. It is not an easy job, and they deserve some loving. And to test the crowd's capacity for said loving, I need you all to do a USA chant as loud as you possibly can and test the acoustics in this room, which I think are pretty good. So I'm going to count down from 3, and we're going to do this until it's good. So just get it out the first try. All right? 3, 2, 1.
USA! 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 USA!
and I need each and every one of you to be that loud every time a new speaker comes up. So without further ado, best clerk in the state, Clerk Lisa Postmus Lyons.
Howdy, how you doing out there? All right, 20 days to go. Are you ready?
Yes,
Are you ready? All right. Well, I just want to say that I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad to see all of you because you are the boots on the ground. You are the ones that win elections. I'm just so proud of my team here from the Kent County-wide 5. But first, I want to ask, are you excited to take back the U.S. Senate? Are you excited to take back the U.S. House? So are you fired up? Remember that. We want the U.S. Senate back. We want the U.S. House. But don't forget about home. There are so many races down ballot. It is so critical. All eyes in America are on Kent County. In fact, all eyes of the world are on Kent County. I'm getting calls from so many different countries wanting to know what's going on in Kent County, what's going to happen, how's the election going to turn out. Well, besides telling them it's going to be secure, transparent, fair, and accurate, I think we're going to have a great day when the results are in and all the votes are counted. So please keep working. Remember your backyard. Remember home. And I want to introduce my countywide 5. We have Michelle LaJoy Young, our sheriff. We have the prosecutor, Chris Becker. We have the treasurer, Pete McGregor. And we have the drain commissioner, Ken Yonker. Folks, these aren't sexy jobs. They're not sexy roles. You're not going to see us out in the media a lot, but they are so important. If you want safe streets, we need you to vote for Michelle LaJoy Young for sheriff.
Yep.
If you want law and order, we need you to vote for Chris Becker for prosecutor.
Yep.
If you want fiscal responsibility, we need you to vote for Peter McGregor for county treasurer.
Yes.
And if you want clean water, clean streams, lakes, and rivers, we need you to vote for Ken Yonker. That's what we need. That's what the county needs. It's about efficient, effective government. It's about service. It's about having the team you know and the experience you trust. And that's what you're going to get with this countywide 5. So on behalf of all of us, don't forget about home. Let's go out and win all the way down the ballot. Come November 5th, we're going to continue working for you and with you. Thank you very much.
And Michigan House Rep Ron Pops.
Hi folks, I'm John Wetzel for the 84th House District, which is Granville, Walker and the West Side. I'm a 20-year small business guy, kind of a little newer to politics, but I'm a quick study. Doesn't take much to outdo what's going on in Lansing right now, which is a 92% cut in school education as well as mental health. So I guess in layman's terms, that means we want our kids running around with mental problems and not being secure. I don't know exactly what the thinking of all that exactly is. Moving forward, and to quote the great Mike Rogers, I hope I don't take away this, some you're going to say, Mike, but one of the most expensive vehicles right now, aside from the EV vehicles, is the grocery cart. Which is in Lansing, they just added more taxes. They voted yes to groceries and to food. The Dems and the blue majority over there really don't know what regular people need and what common sense is. And it's time, for the first time in a couple of years, to get things back to a red majority in the House, and that's what Brian and I are pushing really hard for. We only need 2 seats. We can flip this back around and start getting some sanity in Lansing.
I'm Representative Brian Hoffman. First, I want to ask one thing. How many people here still believe in the American dream? Yeah. I still believe in the American dream. That being said, every single one of the Democrats in Lansing are trying to take that away from us. They may not think that, but every action that they take is taking us closer to no American dream. That's it, and that's the truth. It's making it more expensive to live, harder to raise a family, harder to find a job, and it just makes it more difficult for you and your neighbors and your friends and your kids to chase the American dream. I fundamentally believe in the American dream, and so what we need to do is we need to make sure that we take back the U.S. Senate by electing Mike Rogers. Make sure that we kick Hillary Spolten to the curb by electing Paul Hudson to the U.S. And we need to make sure that we retake the majority in the Michigan House of Representatives by bringing people like John Wetzel into Lansing. It will take every single one of us in this room to make that happen. We have an uphill battle, but it's a battle we can win, and I've never shied from a battle. So please, do everything you can to do what Lance said. Get those 10 people, 10x the vote, and let's win.
That Brian and Lisa were extremely articulate considering they went to Michigan State, didn't you think? It's not for 2 weeks, but I'm probably not going to see Brian again between now and then, so I've got to get my dig in while I can. I'm Andrew Fink. I'm running for the Michigan Supreme Court. I currently serve in the State House of Representatives, and while Lisa's talking about which jobs are sexy, I know everybody's thinking the sexiest one is the Supreme Court, obviously. That's why it's called the third branch of government, and why the Federalists, I know they try to say this isn't an academic lecture, but I'm still going to bring up the Federalist Papers because this is just what I do. The Federalist Papers say that the judiciary is the least dangerous branch because it has neither force nor will. Of course, what happens is the judges forget that they're not there to exercise their will or their force into the matter, and they start to insert themselves into places, into topics, into decisions that are really not properly judicial responsibility. The judiciary is there to decide cases or controversies, and then to explain themselves in a way that allows the people to go about their business, to go about their lives productively and peacefully. And when the court gets off track and starts to insert itself into places that it shouldn't be, it winds up destabilizing our entire legal system. It also winds up turning the policies that the people or the representatives have enacted on their heads in some cases. And so it really is an important part of our state. The comeback that many of us want to see in Michigan also depends on having a solid judiciary. I obviously am speaking a little tongue-in-cheek when I say this is the sexiest of all the topics that you're going to hear about tonight. I understand that the judiciary is almost definitionally, well, my colleagues in Lansing have referred to me liking the boring lawyer stuff, and I guess I have to plead guilty to that. But it is still a very important thing to have a reliable and consistent judiciary that bases its decisions on the text of the Constitution and the laws before it, rather than the preferences that the judges have. The other important thing that you guys need to remember, and this is not just for the Supreme Court, but it's the only statewide judicial office we have, is that if you want to vote for the Supreme Court or any of your local judges or the Court of Appeals, you got to go past the partisan section of the ballot, which means that if you're planning, as I guess many of you are, to vote straight party, you have to keep going beneath even the local offices. If you live in a township, your township offices are still above the judicial section of the ballot, including the statewide Supreme Court. So make sure that you're getting either to the bottom or even to the other side of your ballot to vote the nonpartisan section, or else you're not going to weigh in on what winds up being a very consequential position in the Supreme Court. I think the last couple I've looked at, there's been about 30 to even 40% ballot fatigue, meaning 30 to 40% of the people who vote at the top of the ticket don't even vote in the nonpartisan section of the ballot. Obviously, it's important to fulfill your civic duty and vote the entire ballot. So please do that. Thank you for giving me a few minutes here. And as I said to Brian earlier, go blue.
Please welcome to the stage Pete Ernst, Chairman of the Michigan GOP.
It's great to be here and look down and see 3 U.S. senators. Welcome to Michigan. We are thrilled to have you here, and we are thrilled that Mike will soon be joining you, and you will become number 52, number 53, or 54, whatever it is, but that you go back to Washington and you will be chairman, and you will not have that terrible term called ranking member, which means that you'd ask me when I got to Washington in 1993, he called me into his office and said, Pete, what do you do every day? And it's kind of like, well, I'm a congressman, you kind of pull on your coat and straighten your tie. And he said, well, what do you do all day? I said, well, I do what I'm supposed to do. Cast votes, talk to constituents and all these types of things. And he says, do you ever win? And it's kind of like, well, no, but, I'm on some committees with Dick Armey and some other really good folks, and we put up some really, really good fights. But no, we lose, and if we ever win, it's by accident. We have a revote the next day, and we lose the next day. But we're going to change that here. We need to change it, here in Michigan as well. I mean, I take a look at the policies that we're putting in, and we have high inflation, and so what does the legislature and what did the MEDC do in Lansing? They said, what's a good idea? Let's give roughly $4 billion in tax incentives, not to you as constituents, but let's take your money and let's give it over to battery factories that are associated with the Chinese Communist Party. Anybody think that's a good idea? That's kind of a bad idea. Not only is it giving our money to our enemy, but it also giving money to people who want to put a dagger into our auto industry. How many of you saw I didn't even know what it was, the meme that our governor put out the other day? Awful, it's terrible. She's mocking people of faith. And then she says to those of us that don't quite understand what she's trying to do, she says, I'm sorry that there's people like Pete out there that are not bright enough to figure out how great she is at social media. So I apologize, Pete, and all the others who don't quite get this, that you can't see how good I am on social media. There's a dramatic need for change in Lansing at a number of levels, and we're going to start it. And we're going to start it on November 5. As state party chair for the last 6 months, we've had one focus, winning on November 5. From April now, elect the president, elect the senator, keep the House, take the state House, all the levels of local government, and we're poised to do it. Listen to this 10X program. There's other programs out there. We just need to get people out to vote, and we will win. All right? We're probably going to see more evidence of this in about 12 minutes. What happens in 12 minutes? We see Kamala on TV answering questions from Brett Baer. All right? You're going to have a tough act to follow or to compete with. But don't worry, you can get Fox whenever you want. These three you only get at special time. But thanks for being here. Let us make sure we get out to vote and elect all of these folks, and we can celebrate on November 6th. So thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you, guys.
For anything, but it's awesome to be here, folks. Yes. The first thing I want to do, though, is say thank you to Pete for becoming our party chair. And one of the key things I'd ask you to look at tonight is how united we are. If you look around this room, we have people with a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different views, but we have common values. And we've got people here running for local office, people running for state office, people running for national office. And we're all going the same direction to make our nation better, to make Michigan better, and to make Kent County better. We have to keep that up. We haven't gotten to the finish line yet, and tonight is to make sure we're fired up to do that. Are you fired up to get it done? Now, if you look at it, they covered some great things. The House people I'm out there working every day for, John, Brian. What other House members do we have here? I think we have some. Tommy, running. Well, I knew Tommy was here. I love Tommy.
Yeah. Hey, Tommy!
We have to win back the Michigan House. That's the first step to getting Michigan back on a positive path. We've had great cycles in Michigan. One of my favorite charts is showing the population growing under Governor England. The part I don't like is it going down under Governor Granholm. Guess who else it went up with? And then guess where it's going now? It's going down again. And we've got to do something about that. And they have a Mission for Michigan principle set, 10 principles to help bring Michigan back in a positive way. That's going to resonate with the swing voters, the people that we're going to need to win this election. It's great work by Brian Postumus. John, you're on board. The other people are on board. Let's get this done in that regard. Now, a couple things I want to mention to you is we have to remember what all this stands for and what are our principles. Limited government. If you look at what's going on in Lansing, government keeps expanding. They keep on making it bigger. It's gone from $50 billion to $80 billion budget in just the last few years. A lot of those dollars should be in your pocket to help pay for groceries, gas, everything else instead of going to Lansing.
Yeah.
We need a government that understands before we ask you for $1, we have to show you a return on investment that's equal to the other things in your life. We also need to look at regulations and how we run the state. If you look at it, what assumption do you work from? My assumption is when I talk about working with people, I assume most people are good people. And we don't need to tell them how to run their lives. We need to deal with the bad people. Their assumption is everything needs to be regulated. They need to tell good people how to live our lives. That isn't right. What else? Fiscal responsibility. We had a plan to pay down debt, to pay off all the long-term liabilities in the state of Michigan by 2038.
Yep.
That plan's been cratered. We need to get that plan back. Because part of being a good representative is not about just representing the people of today, but representing the people that aren't here yet, our children, the unborn, the future generations. We shouldn't put our debt on them. We need that will do. Will start us on that path, and in 3 years, we can keep the House, win the Senate, win the governorship, and get us back on that long-term path to success.
Yes.
That's what tonight's about, is to get us on that path and keep us on that path. In addition, I'm really proud to support our federal candidates here tonight. I want to thank the senators for coming. We're seeing people from across the country rally to say we need better representation in Michigan and Washington. So I'm proud to endorse Mike Rogers and Paul Hudson. Now, just to get you motivated more, but I want you to understand there are real challenges here. And what is the challenge? The amount of money the Democrats are putting into the state is unreal, folks. And most of that money is out-of-state money. It's great having out-of-state guests, but I don't want to see people bringing their dollars to Michigan to say what Michiganders should do in the state house. To give you a point of reference, 2 years ago, both parties spent $15 to $20 million each on the state legislature. What is it this year? We're already counting $47 to $50 million in state legislative races. They're putting upwards of $3 to $4 million in single races. That's crazy, folks. But we're still going to win. You know why? Because we have better candidates, we have better issues, we have better policies, we're working harder, we're knocking on doors. All these folks are supporting one another. We're going to win this, but we have to know what we're up against, and I want you to redouble your efforts, however you're participating, to make sure we don't let that out-of-state piece drive the answer. We need to win here in Michigan. Let's get it done by working together. And my final words, this won't surprise you, is still believing in relentless positive action. Let's get out. Blame, let's not waste time on credit. Let's look at problems, let's solve problems, let's represent every citizen in the state in a positive way for a more prosperous Michigan for the long term, and do it in a relentless fashion. It's great to be with you. Let's go win. We got less than 3 weeks to go. Stay on the gas. Onward and upward. Thank you.
Future Senator from Michigan, Mike Rogers.
You've been spending with helping us, going on doors, doing lit drop, making phone calls. I'm just going to show you what that means for you. It not only means we're going to have a Republican after 30 years in this state, in the United States Senate, but it also means, this gets better. These two leaders who have been in the Senate fighting the good fight in the minority, when you send me to the Senate, they're going to be chairs of committees. The only problem is that, man, I promised them both I'd wash cars when I go back, so I got a lot of work to do for them, for the new chairs of these committees. Let me just say a couple of quick things here, if I may. You know, the Democrats are fond of saying, hey, we're first at this. We're first at this. We have somebody that looks like this. They're first. Do this thing. This is first. Let me tell you the 4 firsts that have happened under Democrat control in the last 4 years. It's the first time in America that we've imported more food than we've exported. It's the first time in America they built more foreign cars in America than domestic cars. It's the first time in America that the interest payment on our national debt is higher than the Department of Defense, the interest payment. And it's the first time in America that our collective credit card debt has surpassed $1 trillion. Which means people are buying groceries at 23% interest. I talked to a person who works at a store clerk. She's a grocery clerk. She was telling me, you know, when this all started, you could see inflation going up with all that reckless policy and reckless spending coming out of Washington, D.C. from the Democrats. She said, you know, I can see it. Carts of these families I've known for 10 years are getting a little skinnier and a little skinnier. She said, but my hardest day is I ring it up the mom has to reach up on the conveyor belt and put it back in the cart because she can't afford it. Think of the costs that these families have endured. $12,000 in inflation tax, the Biden-Harris inflation tax on every Michigan family. Last year, that's $48 million in inflation tax to our families. Oh. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Boo-boo. I'm with you, man. So think about where we are. And think about how important this is. So this is the exciting news. They told us about even 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago, didn't think Michigan could be in play. Too hard a state. We've been through some tough times. Don't think it can happen. One of the polls came out, I think it had us down 7.5 points. People said, oh, time to move on from Michigan. We said, hold on. We're doing something really amazing in this state. We are gathering people together from all parts of our party. We're gathering independents. We are gathering Democrats who can no longer vote for their own party. And this is what we've done. We have just surpassed, with your help, with your shoe leather, with your courage, with your commitment, 3 million touches of voters. Saturday alone, 40,000 doors just from our campaign and your volunteers and people all over the state. In one day, 40,000 doors. And here's what happened. They have spent about 5 to 1 on TV. I've had a lot of you call the office and say, are you guys going on TV anytime soon? And believe me, my wife has been watch TV at night in the news, and she comes back and says, I don't know who that guy is, but I will not marry that guy. That's talking about me. It's bad. They'll call you everything but your Christian name because they are desperate. Desperate. So here's what happened. Over these 11 weeks, and by the way, these senators helped. Well, they came in with the National Senate Republican Committee came in with $1.5 million. They took a big bet on us about 11 weeks ago and said, okay, we like the way you've laid out your ground game. Here's the money. And I couldn't have done it without them. Our polls kept getting tighter and tighter, and if you notice, the commercials got meaner and meaner and more lies and more lies. Guess what? We are tied in the election. So here's what we just have to say. I mean, the stakes couldn't be higher. The choices could not be clearer. Think about the things we've got to get done in the next 20 days. We cannot slow down. So if you haven't done the 10X thing, I'm pleading you go on and do it. It will work. If you haven't made 5 phone calls or 10 phone calls or 15 phone calls or whatever you think you can do, this is the time to do it. If you haven't knocked on one door, hung one piece of literature, said I'll take one sign and get it on somebody's yard, this is the time to do it. And I'll tell you why people are counting on us. They know that if Republicans win in November, we will have their back. So for the police officers who have been treated like doormats, come November, we will have their back. For the woman who has to take a grocery off the conveyor belt, put it in the cart, come November 5th, we'll have her back. For the men and women who are serving us today in the armed forces who are wondering if we can pull this off, come November, we need to tell them, because of our hard work, we have your back. Yeah. This is how I know we're going to win. My wife and I were in the UP, and we were working at the UP State Fair. And there was, we worked it for about 2.5, 3 hours, and my wife was on one side, I'm on the other side, and there was like 12 people for almost the whole time, and each, well, there was 12 in her line and 2 in mine. Everybody else is talking about it. But you know, constant flow. We look down at the Democrat booth. Literally, it's one guy, he's got his hat down over his eyes, he's got his feet up, and he is asleep. I'm not kidding. This kept going and going. And so people were coming up, these weren't Republicans. These weren't diehard Republicans. They were coming up saying, you know, I am not a Republican, but I cannot vote Democrat this year. They were grabbing a Donald Trump sign and a Mike Rogers sign, and they were walking down the midway. Pretty amazing. I mean, person after person After we're done, we decide, my wife and I were going to walk down the Midway, and she says, oh, I love it. She grew up going to the UP State Fair. So she says, oh, let's play it. We're going to play the dart game, you know, where you throw a dart at the balloon, try to win an animal. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. This is a lot of pressure on me because I told her I was a good shot. Now I got to actually hit the balloon. So I go, why don't you go first? So she gets up, she plunks down her money, and the guy walks up and gives her the darts. And she's looking at the darts. She said, hey, pal, come here. You know, you don't want to mess with my wife, really. And she said, hey, come here. You've ripped me off. There's no needle on the end of this dart. And he looks down, and I'll clean this up a lot. You know, this is a carnival worker. You know, wonderful guy, but looks like a carnival worker. And he says, oh, dang Democrats. We went, what? I'm sorry, what? And he said, yeah, they made it so we can't have anything pointed at the end of it. We might hurt somebody. You got to throw it hard enough to hit the balloon. The pin is in the back, which is really the dumbest idea I've ever heard. And we shared that. We shared a moment saying how dumb that was. And he leans over. Literally, he's one of those guys. I mean, he has a lot of, you know, looks like he fell in the tackle box, right? That's my dad would say. I would never say. And he goes over and he leans over, and we had our gear up. And he leans over and he goes, don't you worry about it. You got all of the carny votes up here. Thanks a lot. Thanks for what you're doing. We've got to get this done. Don't rest for 21 days or 20 days, I guess it is. This is the time. You know, don't sleep. Well, you can sleep a little bit. But make sure that you're doing everything you can. If you are committed to the future of the country, getting us on track, think of all those people that are counting on us. And I just want to introduce a good friend of mine. And again, we are so lucky that, and by the way, I've been dragging these two senators all over the state. We started up way up in the thumb this morning. And we have breakfast pizza, which was actually kind of good. Yeah?
That's an eye-opener.
And we fed them coney dogs. I mean, they're gonna. I know I'm gonna have to have my soup let out at the end of this trip. But they've been fantastic, engaging with the Cattlemen's Association and diners. We had veterans rallies, and it's really been impressive to watch these two senators who passionately believe if we change the makeup of the Senate, we could do great things for the country. And they know it starts here in Michigan. So I give you somebody who's a friend of mine who I got started with in 2000. We came into the House of Representatives together. And she has just gone on to do amazing things. She's from West Virginia. She is the kind of person we need in leadership in the United States Senate and in Washington, D.C. to get normal back. Can't wait for that to happen. Please welcome a good friend, a great leader, a great Republican, and somebody that's helping us take Michigan back, Senator Capito.
Who's on the rise who's going to win. The enthusiasm is terrific. And I did come in with Mike when I was, we both came into the House of Representatives together, and I can't wait to get him into the United States Senate, not just for what he's going to be able to do for Michigan, but what he's going to do for the nation. I mean, he is going to hit the ground running. He knows the topics, he knows the people, and he knows the right direction that we want this country to go. He has great leadership and great experience in law enforcement, military. He's a great fiscal conservative and also a fighter for the state of Michigan. And so I'm very pleased to be here. I am also glad to see my friend Pete Huckstrom. We served together, we determined, for 11 years. Pete was there before I got there. And it's wonderful to meet your governor. I mean, I love all governors because they are so excited about what they can do and what they can bring to this country. But I am most excited about taking over to the majority, the United States Senate. When you think to yourself, how did we get in this inflationary times? The Democrats have spent and spent and spent and spent to the point where they passed something called the Inflation Reduction Act, which is actually the Inflation Increasement Act. It doesn't, and you see what happens to all the prices at the grocery store. And they're in denial about the whole thing. They're trying to convince us as American people, your food prices are not really going up, when we all know when we go to the grocery store, absolutely that's what's happening. We see with the EV mandate, I'm an Environment and Public Works, hopefully chair. When Mike gets there, I'll be the chair. And that's all the EPA. That's all the loaded on and loaded on and loaded on regulations. And then, I mean, I could go on and on where Mike's going to be able to really pull our country in the right direction. I'm really excited about his background in intelligence and national security. We're living in tough times. There's lots going on around the world. We need leadership that knows the direction to go for this country, but also how to get us there. And that's what his experiences in the House and since then have been directly related to that. And Paul, you're going to love the House of Representatives. Look at these 3 former House members, how much we love the House. But we're going to love the Senate more when we take it. So with President Trump at the top, Mike Rogers in the Senate seat, Paul is your representative and also your state house, I think you've got a winning ticket. I've never seen so much enthusiasm and togetherness, because at the end of the day, that's what we have to do. Because you know what? We're fighting for things that are bigger than we are. And I think the minister put it very well after he did his Donald Trump. I've never seen a minister do a Donald Trump, but it was pretty good, I thought, yeah. But anyway, thanks for having us. I'm really pleased to be here with your almost neighboring state of Iowa, Senator Joni Ernst. Joni and I came in together, and our distinction is we were the only 2 women in our class, but we're the first women from either one of our states to ever serve in the United States Senate. And just for those of you that are either parents of daughters or some here or grandparents of daughters, let me tell you, in this country, we've had 2,000 and hopefully 2,001 male senators, and I'm only number 45, Joni's number 46. Anyway, like 52 women. It's amazing. It's a small group. Joni is a firebrand in terms of her military service. She, many years, retired as a colonel, lieutenant colonel. She is a brand new grandmother, so I have to look at her pictures, which are great, because she has to look at my pictures, which are greater. And she's in leadership. She's very well respected, and she is really a political animal in terms of campaigning. She's been all over the country. So let me introduce you to Senator Joni Ernst.
Thank you. Okay, Shelley, isn't she great? We do have a disagreement over the grandchild pictures. But no, Shelley and I are having a great time. We are out on the road, and we're here in Michigan for Mike Rogers. We're going to hit Ohio on Monday, and all of us are out and about. Why? Because the United States Senate is that important. And with your help and putting Mike Rogers in that seat in the United States Senate, you are going to give Shelley Capito a gavel, and you are going to give me a gavel. So we are so excited, and I appreciate your enthusiasm, and we really do need Michiganders turning out full force, voting the entire ballot. And I know what you mean about flipping that ballot over. Make sure that you vote the entire ballot, all the way down to your local offices. It is so important to set this stage for the future. So Mike, great guy, he has served, you served in the Army, which I love, of course, being someone who served in the Army, and my daughter serves in the Army, she's active duty, my son-in-law is active duty. You can kind of see a pattern here. We love the Army. Anyway, served in the Army, so literally wore the flag of our nation on his shoulder. So thank you for your service to our great nation. What other veterans do we have in the audience? God bless you for your service. So I'm just going to talk about a few things, and the first is going to be energy. Energy is tied to our economy and inflation. And as President Trump will say, drill, baby, drill, right? Okay, we really need to use our own energy resources here in the great United States of Iowa. And I know how Mike feels about this. It's all of the above, right? We are the same in Iowa, all of the above. I don't care, as long as it's cheap and sustainable. I want to know that when my constituents flip on a light switch, they're gonna get a light turned on. Okay, we want to know that when I go out to my vehicle, I'm going to be able to drive it. And sometimes I'm all about consumer choice. If you want to drive an EV, fine. You know, let's just not mandate it. Consumer choice, but I'll tell you, those things become big bricks when the weather is really cold, and we've seen that in Iowa. So anyway, consumer choice, it's very important. The Democrats and Slotkin want to take that away from you. They want to mandate what you're driving. I mean, it's incredible to me that we live in the freest nation on the face of the planet, but here Democrats are trying to take that ability to be consumers and to be able to choose away from us. Okay, so that's an energy economy. In Iowa, it's about $1,100 every single month that Iowans have lost due to inflation. It's coming straight out of their pockets and not being backfilled by wages. So our families are hurting. I know Michiganders are hurting. And who's the cause of this? Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Slotkin, you know, you name it. They are the ones that have driven up inflation with their outrageous spending and their desire to put a cap and stop any natural resources from being developed. So again, energy resources, economy, inflation, it's all tied together. Okay, next I want to talk about national security because I want to tap into Mike and his abilities. Now, again, he wore the nation's uniform. He also served in the Federal Bureau of Investigation. You know, putting bad guys where they belong, which is behind bars. Very different than the movement we have seen on the left, where Kamala Harris and Alyssa Slotkin want to go easy on those that are committing crimes. Okay, so national security, making sure that domestically we are secure, but then also that we are secure from threats and adversaries around the world. Okay, the world is on fire right now. All you have to do is flip on the TV and you'll see that. So thank you so much for having clear eyes when it comes to our nation's adversaries and who are the bad guys here domestically. We've got to do something about it. Mike Rogers is going to take care of that. Donald Trump most certainly will be taking care of that. So those are some of the things that I wanted to address with you. We have got fighters and champions on our side. We need to right this ship. And we can only do that by going to the ballot box, making sure that we are voting. Okay, whether you do it ahead of time, which I'm encouraging, go ahead and swamp the vote, as Donald Trump has said. Swamp the vote, get out early, and then get
10x votes.
And then
10x votes.
10x votes. So seriously, I mean, I'm hating to throw all this on you, but the weight of the world is literally on your shoulders here in Michigan. Okay? The weight of the world is on your shoulders. Why? Because it is up to you to flip the Senate. All right? So we need Mike Rogers, and we need to get the majority. Think about it. President Donald Trump, a Republican Senate, and a Republican House. All of them. We know we do that with you. So, thank you, Mike, for stepping up to the challenge. This is going to be a great race. You are going to be seated with Shelley and I come January. We're super excited about that. You are going to do this for us, and thank you so much. I'm so grateful. So, with that, I'm going to say thank you to Mike, and then I'm going to introduce our next speaker. You know, again, we're relying on you. No pressure, right? No pressure, Michigan. But we really, really need this Senate seat, and then we also need really great folks serving in the House of Representatives. So we have to keep the House. And just to point out, again, the pressure on you. We need to keep the House. On day one, think about a Trump presidency. What happens if the House flips and goes into Democratic control? Impeachment. Okay? So day one, if Hakeem Jeffries is the speaker and Donald Trump is the president, immediately they are going to roll into impeachment. Which is why it is so important that your next speaker is seated in the United States House of Representatives come January. Keep that majority, grow the majority. And so let me introduce to you your next congressional member of the United States House of Representatives, Paul Hudson.
Thank you, Senator. What a lineup we have here tonight. Senator, future Senator, Governor, Chairman. It's an honor to be here. My name is Paul Hudson. I'm running to be your next member of the United States House of Representatives. I'm running against Hillary Scholten. This is one of the true battleground seats in the entire country, right here in West Michigan. The time to go win this seat back is right now. With all of your support, we're going to go win. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about this race and how we're going to win it. I always start with my personal hero in life. That's my grandfather, Duffy Doherty. Some of you may have heard of him. He was the head football coach at Michigan State from 1954 to 1972. He won 2 national championships for the Spartans. That's right, Andrew. Ready to go blue. Go green. Go green. Tremendously proud of my grandfather's accomplishments on the field, but he wasn't just my personal hero. He was an American hero. He fought for our country in the jungles of New Guinea in World War II. He enlisted as a private. He worked his way all the way up to major, won the Bronze Star. He fought in an integrated unit, and for a kid from a small coal mining town in Pennsylvania, that was a new experience. And he said that perspective changed his life. He brought that perspective home to Michigan State in East Lansing. He formed the first truly integrated teams anywhere in the country. He was a pioneer in racially integrating college football. That's a legacy that my family is very proud of. It's a legacy we can all be proud of as Michiganders. If you know anything about Duffy Doherty, you know something about me, you know something about how I treat people in life, and it's where this comes from. Paul for all. That's what real leadership looks like in this country. My grandfather understood that despite all of our differences, we're better together. We're all on one team here, whether it's on the field, whether it's as a nation on the battlefield, whether it is in politics. We're all Americans here. We all have a job to do. My grandfather had a great quote that I've always loved. He said that football is not a contact sport. Dancing's a contact sport. Football is a collision sport. Same can be said for politics these days, right? Right now I'm on a collision course with Hillary Scholten on November 5th. Let me tell you a little bit about Hillary Scholten and her record. You guys have probably seen all the ads. You've seen the act. She pretends to be very moderate, very bipartisan. Don't believe it. She got to Congress, she has a 96% party line voting record. Not just, she promised to be one of the more bipartisan members. She has a far left voting record. And on every important issue of the day, from inflation, immigration, border security, national security, she's been on the wrong end of all of those issues. On inflation, it's been directly caused by Trillions of dollars of irresponsible government spending. She cheered on every penny of that. And that's led to crippling inflation for our families, which is what Mike talked about here tonight. It's costing over $10,000 a year more, just in basic life essentials. That's 10 grand a year that people haven't been able to put away for their kids' college tuition, or to buy a car, or a down payment on a house, let alone some of the luxuries in life, like taking family out to eat or going to a ball game. That's the American dream, and those are the elements that are slipping away because of this irresponsible government spending, because of this runaway inflation. Border security. My goodness, you've probably seen Hillary's ad where she's pretending to be tough on the border. My goodness, it's just shameless. Here's her real record. She's voted against every single border security bill that's reached the floor of the United States House of Representatives. Every single one. And with that record, now she's got a commercial on TV, a guy literally zipping around on an ATV in front of the border wall. It's shameless stuff. Here's a new one though. This week, just yesterday, new commercial with a voiceover from Gerald Ford. And she's now pretending to be the embodiment of Gerald Ford's legacy here in West Michigan. To paraphrase a famous political exchange, West Michigan knows Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford is a friend of ours, and you, ma'am, are no Gerald Ford. Hillary's right about one thing though. This is Gerald Ford's district. That still means something around here. It's a commitment to good government. It's a commitment to serving your people. And it's a commitment to a positive agenda of change. People ask me on the campaign trail, all right, smart guy, what's your plan? How are you gonna fix it, right? Fair question. I've laid it out on my website, paulhudsonforcongress.com. I call it the GPS plan. I think everybody in this room and everybody across our district, across our country, has the feeling deep in our bones that something's not right now. The country is on the wrong track. To get us back going in the right direction again, let's follow this GPS plan. It stands for growth, prosperity, and security. Let's promote pro-growth policies, the holy trinity of pro-growth policies: lower taxes, less government regulation, responsible government spending. Prosperity, we need to set our next generation up for success. That starts with education. Right now, Michigan has slipped to 42nd in the nation in educational outcomes for third grade reading, 8th grade math, high school graduation rates. It's a record of failure. We need to embrace change, reform, give parents more options to make sure that we're embracing the ideal of equality of opportunity in this country. And then finally, security. We need to lead again on the world stage. It is no coincidence that we are seeing wars erupt in hotspots across the country right now. It's because bad actors sense American weakness, and when there's American weakness, bad actors step in. We need to lead on the world stage once again. We need to have security in our border and in our community, in our communities and cities as well. Listen, this is an important election. I'm going to close with a call to action here. We have tremendous candidates on this slate. You met a number of them tonight. Up and down the ballot, we have a winning ticket here. We need to close strong here for the last 20 days. We need to get out and knock more doors than our opponents do. We need to make more phone calls. We need to text our friends, 10 of them, let them know to get out to the ballot. We can do this. We got to close strong. Once again, my name is Paul Hudson. I would greatly appreciate your vote. I look forward to representing you in Congress.
Stand up. First off, I want to thank all of the local electeds and candidates that were here. Lisa Posthumous Lyons, how about everybody give them a round? Don't just articulate all the reasons we need to take the House, but you heard it here tonight. And we have a lot of wonderful people that could use your support. So give it up one more time for the House section here. Future U.S. Senator Mike Rogers and future Congressman Paul Hudson. Give them one more. I want to double click on one thing Paul said, because if you came in the right way, we have your emails and contact information, and we will be paying attention to who's getting involved, because there are literally 20 days left. And I want to talk to you for a second about a concept of not regretting November 6th. Think of all the horrible things that we just talked about that have occurred under the opposition's leadership, local or federal. Think about it real hard. And now imagine thinking about how much you'll regret if we lose by just a sliver. You could have gotten involved a little bit more than you were planning on. Just think about that. All right? So over the next 20 days, the challenge to each of you is to get as involved as you can in a campaign here, so that on November 6th, we have no regrets. We need everybody here knocking doors. We need everybody here dropping lit, dropping signs, so that on November 6th, we have no regrets.
Right.
Tonight, sign up, get out to vote, everybody you know. Tell them who they should vote for. Give them a good reason why. Our message is better. So that on November 6th, we have no regrets. Yeah. Next time you're tempted to sit at home on a Saturday and just watch college football game day, let me tell you, it's the same every week. The games don't start till noon. Go out and knock some doors for 2 hours, right? Go a little farther than you would have before, so that on November 6th, we have no regrets. And finally, if you don't think that, if you don't think that you can make a difference, let me remind you that the world's been changed more times than anyone in this room can count by a handful of people, and you can make a difference. So, what do we say, everybody? On November 6th, get involved so that we have no regrets. All right, thank you all. We're going to send out some follow-ups, get involved, get home safely, and appreciate you all coming out. Have a good night.